What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day, so make sure to like this video clicking that button down below, and if we get 600 likes I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see we actually got 19 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 19 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $2,025 just yesterday. Another member who won $1,060 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Cedric Jackson 1966 who said let's get it, and shouts out to Aliens 2026 who said let's go. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick, and when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is Onyeka Okongwu, and this one is for 22.5 points and rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Onyeka Okongwu, we actually have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on December 22nd, faced off against Chicago Bulls, actually had 30 points and rebounds there. Then December 24th, faced off against Chicago again, had 17 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then December 27th, faced off against Miami, had 20 points and rebounds. Then 45 points and rebounds against New York Knicks on December 28th. And then December 30th, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder and had 40 points and rebounds there. So we have actually seen Onyeka Okongwu do a decent job in some of those games, but he still has gone on the under in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is 30.4. Now his average is very high, it is above his actual line, but we do believe that some of these matchups have been a little bit of outlier games, and now it has overinflated this line, that there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. But let's get to the matchup to really understand, why we do like the under. Now, looking at Onyeka and Atlanta Hawks, they have themselves a very good matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it is definitely going to be a fantastic matchup there. Looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Atlanta Hawks. Hawks come in at the 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 15 wins and 19 losses. That's a 44.1% win percentage there. They're also 5-11 from home, 10-8 from away, and are currently on a 7-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at Atlanta, we have actually seen them do a pretty decent job, but they are still outside of the playoff picture as of right now, unfortunately. Now, they face off against Minnesota Timberwolves, as we mentioned, and Minnesota come in at the 6th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 21 wins and 12 losses. That's a 63.6% win percentage there. They're also 12-6 from home, 9-6 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So, very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at both of these teams, Timberwolves are slightly ranked higher than Atlanta, and both are also in different conferences. But looking at Minnesota Timberwolves and where they do rank, we do see Minnesota Timberwolves do come in at the 11th spot when it comes to actually points allowed, allowing only 114.2 points per game. Now, when we look at rebounds allowed, we see somewhat of a similar story as Timberwolves rank 14th. So they do rank pretty decent, and they only allow 43.8 rebounds per game. So we actually have seen, Minnesota do a fantastic job at restricting, as I mentioned before, points and rebounds. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. Minnesota Timberwolves have shown time and time again that they do a fantastic job at restricting points and rebounds. And on top of that, we also do know they do a fantastic job at restricting those two categories to the actual, or to Onyeka Okongwu's position. So that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under due to that. And we look at the matchup between Minnesota and Atlanta. We are expecting Onyeka Okongwu to actually have a little bit of less volume due to the fact that Minnesota do a fantastic job at slowing down faster paced teams. Atlanta are a faster paced team than Minnesota, but Minnesota have done time and time again slowed down teams and have definitely, as we've always mentioned, slowing down pace leads to less volume, and less volume leads to less opportunity for someone like Onyeka. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. Now, when we look at what the pros are actually saying about it, so obviously we have him for points and rebounds for the under. Now, this one is actually for 21.5, so this is slightly a different line, but we actually do see when it comes to this line, obviously we can't really go off what the bookies are saying there, but we do see that when we look at the projection, they do have him projected for 22.1, so that is slightly below, so that is slightly on the under. So we are technically agreeing with the projection there. The bookies, it is a little bit difficult as it is a different line there. And when we look at the last 15 games, yes, we have seen actually, when it comes to, someone like Onyeka Okongwu, yes, he has done great in some games, but in other matchups, he hasn't done too well. It's almost 50-50. He's gone, on the over 53% of the game, so he's gone on the under in 47%. So it is very, very close to being exactly, 50-50 there, but we do very much like the under for Onyeka Okongwu. So Onyeka Okongwu, 22.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Draymond Green. Now, this one is for 7.5 points for actually Draymond, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Draymond Green, we actually have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on December 21st, faced off against Phoenix, had 4 points in that matchup. December 23rd, faced off against Orlando, had 9 points there. Then December 26th, faced off against Dallas, had 7 points in that matchup. December 29th, faced off against Toronto Raptors, had 21 points there. And then December 30th, faced off against Brooklyn and had 7 points in that matchup. So we have seen actually Draymond Green go on the over, as I mentioned, in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is actually 9.6, so it is slightly above this line as well. Now, looking at Golden State Warriors, they have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Charlotte Hornets, so it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Golden State Warriors do come in at the 8th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 17 wins, 16 losses. That's a 51.5% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-4 from home, 7-2 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So they do face off against Charlotte, as we mentioned, who also don't really rank too well, as they come in at the 12th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 11 wins and 21 losses. That's a 34.4% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 7-9 from home, 4-12 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So when we actually look at that, we do see that Charlotte are ranked slightly a little bit worse than Golden State Warriors. But Golden State Warriors are also, not too good and not too bad. They're pretty mid-tier at that 8th spot. But looking at this matchup and looking at where Charlotte Hornets do rank, we do see Charlotte Hornets rank, when it comes to points allowed, they rank 22nd. So they rank very poor, and also on top of that, they also allow 118.5 points per game. So they allow quite a lot of points, and this is definitely due to a lot of factors. Charlotte aren't really the greatest defensive team, but on top of that, what we also do know about Charlotte is that Charlotte do like to push the pace quite a lot. They like to push the pace as much as they can, and the faster pace game always leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity for someone like Draymond Green to score in this matchup. Now, when it comes to Draymond, of course, he isn't really the main scorer for this team, but what we have seen with Draymond is that his scoring does remain very consistent. He does stay around that 7.8 point mark at times, and as you even see, even the times he's gone on the under, he's only gone on the under slightly by 0.5 at times. So for that reason, we definitely see him getting close to this line, and the fact that Charlotte are a fast-paced and also a poorly defensive team, we definitely see that being enough to see someone like Draymond grow on the over here. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for someone like Draymond Green coming into this game. Now, when we actually look at what the pros do have to say, now this is an interesting one because they have him for 8.5 points while we have him for 7.5, but the bookies still have him favored for the over at 8.5 points. So the fact we are able to get him at 7.5 on PrizePicks is actually a massive, W there. And that's why coming into this, we are agreeing with what the bookies are saying, and the bookies agree with us here significantly. Now, when we look at the projection as well, we do see that the projection 8.7 points. So this one's an interesting one because, obviously the projection is at 8.7. The line is 7.5. So they have him favored for the over as well, which is what definitely puts us for the over for this situation here. Now, when we actually look at someone like Draymond, yes, we have seen at times he's definitely gone on the under, but he's remained very, very consistent at getting close to this line as well. So it is almost a 50-50 split there. Now, coming into this matchup, however, with Charlotte being a poorly defensive team and the fast-paced game or fast-paced nature of the game, we definitely see that being enough to see someone like Draymond go on the over here. So Draymond Green, 7.5 points, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. Getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Bennedict Mathurin. So Bennedict Mathurin, great player, and this one is for 5.5 rebounds, and this one actually is for more. Now, as we all know, Bennedict Mathurin has done a great job over the last 5 games, going on the over in 3 out of the last 5. Now, looking at those 5, we see on December 23rd, faced off against Boston Celtics, actually had 9 rebounds there. December 24th, faced off against Milwaukee, had 6 rebounds there. Then December 27th, faced off against Boston Celtics again, had 4 rebounds in that matchup, 6 rebounds against Miami Heat on December 28th, and then 3 rebounds against Houston Rockets on December 30th. So we have actually seen Bennedict Mathurin for Indiana Pacers. He's definitely done a great job in the rebounding department, but we do know that when we look at his average over the last 5, it is also 5.6. Now, looking at Mathurin, we do also know when it comes to actually their matchup, Indiana Pacers face off against none other than actually Orlando Magic. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game there, looking at both of these teams. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually Indiana Pacers. Unfortunately, Indiana have gotten off to a pretty poor start to the season. Now, they don't know if they're going to be able to turn this thing around, but they currently rank 15th, unfortunately, in the actual Eastern Conference. So they have struggled quite a bit there. Now, when we actually look at Indiana Pacers, they have a record of 6 wins, 27 losses, which has been very tough, only having an 18.2 win percentage there. Now, they are also 5-12 from home, 1-15 from away, and are currently on a 9-game losing streak. So it is definitely sad to see, especially from an Indiana team that literally just made the finals, but they face off against Orlando Magic team who are also in the Eastern Conference, and they rank pretty decent as well, as they come in at the actual 6th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 18 wins, 15 losses, a 54.5% win percentage there. They're also 11-5 from home, 7-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at Orlando Magic, we have definitely seen them do a much better job than Indiana. But looking at where both of these teams do lie, obviously seeing Orlando defensively, we do also know when it comes to rebounds allowed, Orlando Magic do surprisingly rank 13th, allowing 43.7 rebounds per game. So they do a pretty decent job. I would say they do rank pretty mid-tier, however. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the over for this. It's not due to the fact that they are just, somewhat, I would say, mid-tier, but Orlando Magic do struggle at restricting rebounds to Bennedict Mathurin's position. So we definitely see someone like him being able to take advantage of this and go on the over here. We have actually seen when it comes to Bennedict as well, he's definitely seen a high usage rate in this department as of lately. We have seen that when it comes to actually, Bennedict Mathurin and also, the matchups in the past, we have seen him face off against tough teams, but his high usage rate has been able to play a huge part in him being able to go on the over quite consistently. So that's why coming into this next matchup, we do very much like the over for this situation here. When we look at someone like also Benedict Mathurin and also what the pros do have to say, obviously we have him for 5.5 rebounds, and looking at what they actually have to say here. Now they have him favored for the over and quite significantly on the over as well, which definitely helps out here. But what we also do see when it comes to, the predictions and the projections of the pros, they do have him for 5.7 rebounds as well. So this kind of works out in our favor there. Obviously looking at both, we do know first of all that projections do have him for the over, and then on top of that, when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the over as well. So it does very much work out in our favor there, which is why we do like the over for this situation. Now when we look at his last 15 games, we do see something pretty interesting due to the fact that he has gone almost 50-50 when it comes to going on the over and going on the under over the last 15. It is somewhat even. So coming into this matchup, it is definitely going to have a huge effect on why we do like the over for this situation here. Now, Orlando are a little bit of a slower paced team than Indiana, but coming into this matchup, we are expecting Indiana to really keep their pace. And since they are expected to keep their pace, we aren't really expecting a slower sort of game style, which won't really affect Benedict Mathurin's rebounding there. So his high usage rate in this department is definitely going to play a huge effect here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for Benedict. So Benedict Mathurin for actually 5.5 rebounds for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next player, we're going to be talking about Anthony Black. So Anthony Black, great player, and this one is for 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists, so PRA, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at Anthony Black, we have actually seen him go on the over in 1 out of the last 5 games. So looking at those 5 games, you see on December 23rd, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 28 points, rebounds, and assists there, or PRA. December 24th, faced off against Portland, had a 35 PRA. Then December 27th, faced off against Charlotte, had a 31 PRA, a 49 PRA against Denver on December 28th, and then also a 33 PRA against Toronto Raptors on December 30th. So it has been very interesting to see when it comes to Anthony Black, because we have seen him only go on the under in 1 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 35.2. So he's definitely been a little bit of a hot streak as of lately, but we do like the under for this situation here. And when we look at Orlando Magic, they have themselves a really good matchup against Indiana Pacers. Now, we have touched on this matchup before, but just quickly remind you all again, Orlando Magic do come in at the 6th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 18 wins, 15 losses. That's a 54.5% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are also 11-5 from home, 7-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know they face off against an Indiana Pacers team who definitely have struggled just a little bit, because the Pacers do come in at the 15th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 6 wins and 27 losses. So that's an 18.2% win percentage there. They're also 5-12 from home, 1-15 from away, and are currently on a 9-game losing streak. So very tough for Indiana. Now looking at where Indiana Pacers do actually rank, however, we do see when it comes to points allowed, Indiana Pacers do unfortunately, rank pretty poorly, as they rank 23rd, allowing 119.4 points per game. Looking at assists allowed, however, we do see Indiana rank 5th, and they allow only 24.8 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Pacers do unfortunately rank a little bit lower, as they rank 29th. Also allowing, when it comes to rebounds allowed, they do allow 47.8 rebounds per game. So why do we like the under for this situation? And one of the main reasons is that we are actually expecting a blowout situation in this game. And that's because Indiana have definitely struggled quite a lot. They currently are on a 9-game losing streak, and it is starting to see that Indiana are just, at this point, pretty much purposely tanking, as they are trying their best to kind of stay away from getting these wins, and just pretty much hope for next season that it does get better when Tyrese does get back. So unfortunately for Indiana fans, it does seem that the Pacers have already given up. So we are actually expecting a blowout game in this situation. And because of that, Anthony Black could be sitting out a little bit earlier than people may have expected. And for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now, when we look at someone like Anthony Black as well, what we also do see when it comes to this matchup is that, Orlando and Indiana both are, pretty decent teams, but Indiana actually do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the guard position as well. Now, it isn't anything major, but they do a little bit of a better job than average when it comes to restricting that, and that mixed with it being most likely going to be a blowout situation where Anthony Black does get taken out early, we do very much like the under for this situation here. So for that reason, we are very much sticking to the under for this one. So Anthony Black, definitely keep an eye out for this line. But when we look at what the actual bookies are saying as well, the pros, now they do have him for 28.5, while we actually have him for 29.5. But even at 28.5, they still have him favored for the under as well. So the fact that, our line is actually a little bit, when you look at this, it is actually higher. Now they still have him favored for the under here as well, even at 28.5. So having an under, or a projected under, for 29.5 even actually pushes us more in favor as well. So I think that's great to see there. And when we look at the projection as well, they have him projected for 20.8 points, rebounds, and assists, which is interesting to see. So that is definitely going to be very, very good, because that is obviously on the under as well. So it is very projected that he will go on the under, even though he has had some great games as of lately. Obviously, matchups are super important, and with a matchup like this, we are definitely expecting a different outcome, which is why we do like the under. So Anthony Black, 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next pick, and we're going to be talking about AJ Mitchell. So AJ Mitchell, great player. Now this one is for 10.5 points, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at AJ Mitchell, we have actually seen him go on the over in 4 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 19th, faced off against LA Clippers, actually had 16 points there. December 20th, faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves, had 14 points there. Then 16 points against Memphis Grizzlies on December 23rd. December 29th, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, had 13 points in that matchup. Then December 30th, faced off against Atlanta, had 10 points there. And then after that, we also did see when it comes to Oklahoma City Thunder, they faced off against Portland and facing off against Portland. And looking at where both of these teams do lie, first, starting off with OKC, we all know how OKC have been doing so far. They currently rank first in the Western Conference. They have a record of 28 wins and 5 losses. That's an 84.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 16-1 from home, 12-3 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So pretty interesting to see from Thunder there. Now, looking at their matchup, they face off against Portland Trailblazers, where Portland have definitely struggled just a little bit, but they currently come in at the 10th spot in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 14 wins and 19 losses. So that's a 42.4% win percentage there. On top of that, we also do know they are 7-9 from home, 7-10 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. So very, very good to see there. Now, looking at someone like AJ Mitchell and Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously they face off against Portland, but looking at where both of these teams do lie, we do actually see, first starting off with actually, Portland when it comes to ranking-wise, points-wise, we do see that that Portland Trailblazers do rank points allowed. They do rank 24th, allowing 120.1 points per game. So they do allow quite a lot of points, and because of that, we do very much like the over for this situation here for someone like AJ Mitchell. Now, when we look at, OKC and the way they have been playing AJ Mitchell as of lately, although they do seem to be having, a lot of players back from actually, things such as, injuries and all that, we have seen AJ Mitchell's usage rate in the points department remain very, very consistent. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I do very much like the over for this situation here. Now, when we actually look at AJ Mitchell and also OKC facing off against Portland, we do also know when we look at what the actual pros do have to say about this. So obviously we have him for 10.5. The lines do have him for 11.5 when it comes to the pros. Now obviously because of that, the bookies line are a little bit different, so it doesn't actually translate well there. But when we look at the projections, we are following with what the projection has. So projections are 14.7 points, which is significantly on the over for his line, which is what we have at 10.5. And we are going to be agreeing with the projection there. Now, looking at actually, AJ Mitchell over the last couple of games, we have seen him do a fantastic job. Now, yes, he has had some games where he hasn't really scored too well, but that's definitely going to happen. Obviously, as I've always mentioned, matchups, that's what's most important. And we have seen him definitely struggle in certain matchups for sure, especially against tougher teams. But when he faces off against much easier matchups, we see AJ Mitchell be able to take over and be able to score very, very well. So that's why coming into this next game, we do very much like the over for this situation here. For someone like AJ Mitchell, we definitely see him going on the over due to the fact that AJ Mitchell has also provided a lot of scoring for this team at times. Now, when we look at Trailblazers and Thunder, both are very, very fast-paced teams as well. And since both are very fast-paced teams, what we are expecting in this matchup is a lot of pace. And as we've always mentioned in the past, when it comes to faster-paced games, more pace leads to more volume and more opportunity to score. Now, AJ over the last 5 games has also averaged 13.8. He's had a bit of a hot hand as of lately. I do believe OKC's game plan has definitely changed quite a bit, and it's definitely led to a lot more of scoring for AJ Mitchell, even though I wouldn't say he is a main player for this OKC team. But his role off the bench, whether he's off the bench or whether he's starting, has remained very consistent, which is why we are very much liking the over for the situation here. So AJ Mitchell, 10.5 points for more, I think is a fantastic pick.